everyone, I'm Trish Meyer, the founder and managing attorney of Meyer Law, a law firm focused on helping entrepreneurs and technology companies, and I am here today with Carl Hirshman from CareTree. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Trisha.
Tell me all about CareTree.
So we created CareTree about 3 years ago to solve the problem that a third of American households are facing, which is caregiving for a loved one. So we created a platform where you can create a central health record and then communicate and coordinate with the rest of the care team, whether it's professional caregivers or your family across the country.
How'd you come up with the idea?
My mom has been a family caregiver essentially all of my life. She's been caring for neighbors, for family friends, for relatives, on top of working full time. And I own another business that's in the senior housing space, so had a little bit of experience in the industry. And my mom came to me and said, hey, I'm having these problems communicating with the caregivers. I've got this growing stack of paperwork that I have to carry with me in case a doctor has a question. And then I have to relay everything out to the rest of the family. And it just didn't make sense to me that there wasn't a more efficient way. So we created one.
Awesome. So what's a challenge that you face with your business and how have you overcome it?
We're constantly facing challenges, and CareTree is actually my third company that I've started. Started my first company straight out of college and sold it a few years later, and still own another company. And with each company we've faced new challenges, and the common thing that I've done to solve these challenges is to try not to reinvent the wheel. So go out and find people that are smarter than me, that have dealt with similar challenges in a similar situation, and find out what they did. So whether it's a legal issue and I ask you, or when I went out and raised $20 million in private equity, I went out and talked to private equity people and asked them the questions. Or if we're having a challenge with personnel, talking to people that are in HR or management. I think the key is to try and ask people that have been in a similar situation. Mm-hmm. It doesn't necessarily help to ask somebody who's always been in a Fortune 500 company, right, to ask them about startup challenges, because their approach to those challenges and their solutions come with a completely different tool set than the entrepreneur who was doing what you were doing 3 months ago or 3 years ago.
Right, somebody who's been there, done that, who can kind of help show you a little light.
Exactly.
Right.
And so just continue to ask smarter people what they've done and really dig into it.
Right.
Just keep on asking until you know that you're hearing a real response.
Yeah, and something that would work for you then, right?
Precisely.
What's one trait that you think an entrepreneur needs to have in order to be successful?
I think the biggest trait is grit, and it's a combination of a lot of things. You have to have optimism, but you can't be too optimistic that you aren't willing to listen to good feedback. You are going to face challenges, so you have to have the perseverance to get through those challenges, because entrepreneurship is not easy,
right?
And you have to get through that. And I guess maybe another aspect is luck, and not necessarily just the four-leaf clover luck, but the Malcolm Gladwell luck of people create their own luck by going out and looking for opportunities and creating opportunities, and you don't know which stone is going to have the diamond underneath of it, so you just have to keep on turning over stones and rocks until you find that diamond. And so you create your own luck, which that determination goes back into the grit factor of keep on trying, keep on looking, keep on sourcing, and eventually you can find or create your own luck.
Right. What's one piece of advice that you would have for fellow entrepreneurs watching?
I will say this, and it's not because I'm talking to an attorney. I say this universally.
Okay.
Have a vesting agreement.
Yes, I couldn't agree more.
I ran into that with my first company. We didn't have a vesting agreement in place, and it created some real challenges. I've run into it with this company, where I did have vesting agreements in place and was very happy that I did. And I think every entrepreneur needs to have that vesting agreement in place, even if it's just them. Because if they're going to go out and raise capital, their investors are going to want them to have a vesting agreement in place. So it's better to get that vesting started early, have realistic clauses in there about what's going to happen, so that in case a bad situation happens, and that's really what a vesting agreement is for, is those bad situations, that you're prepared for it and you know what's coming.
Yeah.
So if you bring in outside investors and they decide you're no longer needed or they no longer want you, have that protection. If you bring on employees, or your best friend or your wife is or your husband or your partner is your partner, and everything's going great right now, life changes. So if you're developing a sustainable company, it could be there for years, and there will be life changes. You get married, you get divorced, you have kids. It just doesn't take off as well as you think it does. Somebody has a better career opportunity. People will leave, things will change, and you need to be prepared for those changes. Mm-hmm. And so go through every single one of those aspects and figure out what happens if this happens. It's much easier to do it at the beginning and set expectations than when you're running into a bad situation or also a good situation.
Right.
So if you have a situation where you're making tons of money and your partner wants to leave, but you're still doing 80 hours a week, how is that fair? How do you handle the equity? And so you just need to prepare for that from the beginning.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. We see a lot of disasters, as you can imagine.
Yes.
In that area.
Yes, and I've seen so many disasters.
Yeah.
Just advising other entrepreneurs.
Right, right. So where can people find you?
They can find me at caretree.me is our website. Developer.caretree.me is our new API, which provides all of our services through an API, and actually is the first fully interoperable HIE, nationwide HIE, available as an API. So that's pretty cool. And then they can find me on Twitter at CareTreeMe.
Awesome. Thanks for coming in today.
Thank you, Tricia.
All right, everybody, I'm Trish Meyer. You can find out more about me at meetmeyerlaw.com, more about Meet Advisors at meetadvisors.com. We'll see you next time.